Now let's bring in Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis. He's a senior fellow and military expert at Defense Priorities. Thank you so much for being with us this morning. So I want to jump in with these gains that we're seeing by Ukrainian forces in the south and the east. Are you surprised at all by these latest battlefield developments, especially given the size of Ukraine's team?
I am a little bit surprised, I got to say, because, the size of the Ukrainian forces that we thought was the case earlier, we now know is not, that they have substantially expanded their fighting base. And I think that surprised the Russians as well, because they thought they had a smaller group to contend with. And so when they allocated forces in both the north and in the south, they didn't allocate enough. And now then what you see is Zelensky is just going all out to do everything he can to win as much territory he can as fast as he can before Vladimir Putin's mobilization starts to take effect and they bring in potentially hundreds of thousands of additional soldiers. And I think that's what you're trying to see right now, is to push Russia as far back as fast as they can.
And you're talking about an increase in manpower. We've also heard about an increase in funds. The U.S. is pledging an extra $625 million in military aid. And just yesterday, we actually spoke with a guest who said the West should not back down its support for Ukraine despite these annexations and Russian warnings. So you, though, wrote an article for NBC, an op-ed recently, that aggressive U.S. support risks a dangerous escalation. So what do you think the West's position should be?
Yeah, I think that the White House recognizes this. And you saw with that package today, they sent 4 more HIMARS and 16 more ones, not like large numbers that would be necessary to really push the issue. Also key, what's not in that package is ATACMS, which is the very long-range rocket systems that can strike into Russia. So I think Biden is careful that he's trying to thread that needle, that he wants to help Ukraine, but he doesn't want to risk provoking the worst thing for American national interest at all, and that is the use of a nuclear weapon in Ukraine.
Absolutely. Nuclear usage, bad for everyone. And in the wake of these annexations, I know President Zelensky signed a decree making it essentially impossible for talks with President Putin. Given that, do you really practically see any scenario where both sides are able to negotiate, make it to that table, or are we now at the point of no return?
At the moment, there is zero chance of any negotiated settlement, I'm regretful to say, because that means that a lot more people are going to die. But you see that Zelensky is absolutely fully in on this. Putin is fully in on this. And until this mobilization plays out, until basically the surge of Ukrainian forces plays out in both the north and the south, no one's going to even think about it, because both sides think they can win. And until one or actually both sides realize that they can't get a military victory, then you have the possibility for negotiations, but we're not even close to that right now.
2 persistent leaders. Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis, thank you for that perspective.